Alright, so once 20 minutes is up, or however long, it says just open it up, just get out the basket, and as you can see, it cleaned out a lot of the gunk. You're still going to have to kind of go over it with a paper towel or something to clean it off a little more, but it really does a good job of cleaning off a lot of the residue. Alright, and now we're going to put the whole carburetor body in, and I actually like to put the wire through the carburetor so it's easier to get out. Just be careful not to hurt the threads, but shouldn't be too bad. And so then just open up the thing and drop the whole carburetor body into it. Make sure any gaskets or plastic parts are out, and then you should be good to go. Alright, so now the carburetor body is out of the cleaning solution, and these are the different jets that we took out, and this is setup replacement jets. I think it costs about $30, and it has all new jets and gaskets for when you rebuild it. So I recommend doing that. It's definitely worth it. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is install the new idle mixture screw. So we're going to put this the spring on, and then this little washer, and then the new O-ring. And once that's on like that, we just go and install it. Alright, next we're going to install the new pilot jet and slow speed jet. This is the slow jet, and then they call this the pilot jet, but all it is a little rubber plug. So this one you actually screw in, and it goes on this third hole to the left of the other two. So we're just going to put it in, and then just get a small flathead and screw it down. Don't over tighten it because you don't want to mess up the head of the jet. And then just install that rubber stopper. Alright, now we're going to install the new float needle valve, and then this is the float needle. It goes in this big hole right here. Now we're going to reinstall the float valve retainer clip, which just goes right here. Now we're going to reinstall the float. So you just line up the dowel and push it through. Alright, now we're going to install the needle jet, which goes in the bigger hole, and the secondary main jet will go on top of it. And then once that's in, we're going to put in the secondary main jet, which is the bigger of the two main jets. Just goes right on top of it. Now we're going to put in the main jet holder, which goes in the smaller of the two, or the two parallel holes. And then the primary main jet, which is the smaller of the two, just goes right on top of it in that same hole. At this point, you need to check the float level on the float, which has to do with how much this middle piece on the float is bent, and you do that by holding it horizontal until to the point where the little float needle is barely touching the metal piece, and you measure the distance from here to the carburetor body, and it's different for every carburetor, but your carburetor manual should say the right distance that this should be. So and to change it, you just bend that middle piece. So it's kind of guess and check, but you need to make sure you do that before you put the float bowl back on. Alright, so now the float level is right, but actually made a little mistake before. We need to make sure we put this thing on, which keeps the floats in the right area. We need to install that before the two main jets, because that's what holds them on. So now the float can't go too far down because that stops it. So now we are ready to put the float bowl back on, and we're going to use the new gasket that was in the rebuild kit, and so we're going to put that on. So now with the float bowl back on, we just have to screw it back in. Alright, now we're going to reinstall the diaphragm slide assembly. Now we can reinstall the diaphragm spring and the top. We need to reinstall the float bowl drain plug. And that is how you rebuild a motorcycle carburetor.